Around 1610, Zaga Christ was born, though the exact location and details of his birth remain uncertain. He claimed to be the son of Emperor Yaakov I of Ethiopia, a ruler who had a short and turbulent reign. Some sources suggest he may have been born within the Ethiopian Empire, while others believe he was born in exile, possibly in regions bordering Ethiopia, such as present-day Eritrea or Sudan. His claim to royal lineage was central to his identity and later travels, though it has been viewed with skepticism by some historians due to the lack of clear Ethiopian records confirming his ancestry. During the 1610s and 1620s, Zaga Christ spent his early years in exile. According to his own account, political turmoil in Ethiopia forced him to flee as a child. He claimed that after the death or deposition of his father, Emperor Yaakov I, he was targeted by rival factions and had to escape for his safety. He is believed to have found refuge in the Kingdom of Sennar, located in what is now Sudan. There, he lived under the protection of local rulers and began to build his identity as a royal exile, preparing to one day reclaim his supposed birthright. His experiences during this time shaped his narrative and helped him gain credibility later in his travels across the Middle East and Europe. Zaga Christ undertook a significant journey that took him from the Sudanese region to Cairo and then to Jerusalem. This period marked the beginning of his deliberate effort to present himself on the international stage as the legitimate heir to the Ethiopian throne. In Cairo, he encountered various Christian communities, including Coptic and Catholic clergy, and began sharing his story of royal exile. He claimed that he was the son of the deposed Ethiopian emperor and had escaped persecution by fleeing across the Ethiopian-Sudanese border. His narrative attracted attention among both local Christians and European missionaries stationed in the area. Zaga Christ understood that European interest in Ethiopia, especially from the Jesuits and the Catholic Church, was growing due to missionary efforts and hopes of bringing the Ethiopian Orthodox Church into communion with Rome. Presenting himself as a Christian prince in exile aligned with their religious and political goals, making him a figure of interest. After establishing himself in Cairo, he continued his journey to Jerusalem, one of the holiest cities in Christianity. Pilgrimage to Jerusalem served both religious and strategic purposes. By visiting the Christian holy sites, Zaga Christ reinforced his image as a devout Christian prince. He also used the opportunity to gain recognition and support from the Latin clergy based there, who could help him connect with European powers. In both cities, Zaga Christ skillfully blended political ambition with religious devotion, laying the groundwork for the support he would later receive from Catholic leaders in Rome and France. His journey was not only a physical one, but a calculated step in crafting a compelling personal myth that would captivate Europe's imagination. In 1629, Zaga Christ arrived in Rome, marking the turning point in his journey of self-promotion as a royal exile. His arrival was significant not only because he reached the center of the Catholic world, but also because he entered a place where his claims could gain powerful political and religious support. Rome, at the time, was deeply interested in expanding Catholic influence, particularly in Ethiopia, where Jesuit missionaries had been active and where the papacy hoped to bring the Ethiopian Orthodox Church into union with Rome. Zaga Christ presented himself to the papal authorities as the son of the late Emperor Yaakov I of Ethiopia and as the rightful heir to the Solomonic throne. His story was compelling to many in Rome, especially the Jesuits, who were eager to support a figure who could potentially restore Catholicism in Ethiopia. The Vatican saw in him a possible ally and a symbolic victory in its broader mission to expand Christendom. He was well received by high-ranking clergy and scholars. Jesuit records describe him as intelligent, charismatic, and fluent in multiple languages, which further enhanced his credibility. The church provided him with lodging, a stipend, and access to Roman elites. He was questioned about Ethiopian customs, politics, and religion, and he often responded in ways that aligned with Catholic teachings, which earned him even more favor. During his stay, he lived in religious institutions and was treated with a level of respect suitable for someone of royal lineage. His presence caused a stir among European observers and travelers, who wrote about him in their letters and journals. Artists in Rome also painted portraits of him, helping to spread his image throughout Europe. Zaga Christ's time in Rome was not just about receiving aid. It was part of a carefully crafted effort to gain recognition, resources, and possibly military or diplomatic support for a return to Ethiopia. Whether or not his claim to the throne was genuine, he successfully positioned himself as a Christian prince worthy of European attention and protection. After gaining support in Rome in 1629, Zaga Christ continued to cultivate his image as a Christian prince in exile. He spent time in the company of Jesuits and high-ranking Catholic officials, who saw him as both a curiosity and a potential instrument in their broader religious ambitions. His presence in the city was more than symbolic. He was involved in political and theological discussions, and his knowledge of Ethiopian customs and his alignment with Catholic doctrine impressed many. He stayed in religious institutions, where he was given a stipend and treated with considerable respect. By 1630, Zaga Christ traveled to France, likely encouraged by Jesuit intermediaries and papal connections who believed French support could strengthen his position. He arrived in Paris and quickly became a sensation at court. King Louis XIII received him with honor, and the French elite were fascinated by his story. Zaga Christ played his role while he dressed with elegance, spoke multiple languages, and told a compelling story of royal exile, Christian faith, and a desire to reclaim his throne. He moved among the aristocracy, stayed in noble residences, and developed close relationships with influential figures, including members of the clergy and royal advisors. While in Paris, he was the subject of public interest and artistic depiction. His dignified bearing and exotic background inspired portraits and written accounts. Zaga Christ used these opportunities to request aid for a return to Ethiopia, hoping for military or diplomatic backing from France, though he never succeeded. In securing such support, he continued to build his legend and lived comfortably under French protection. He also grew increasingly devout during his time in France, spending much time in prayer and reflection. Those who knew him described him as sincere in his faith and resigned to his fate, even as his hopes of returning to Ethiopia faded. In his final days, he suffered from tuberculosis and became physically weak, but he remained composed and spiritually focused. Zaga Christ died in 1632 in Rouen, near Paris, and was buried with honors in the Church of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. His grave, though modest, marked the final resting place of a man who had captivated two of Europe's greatest cities with a story of exile, ambition, and unwavering faith. In 1632, Zaga Christ's journey came to an end in France. After years of traveling through Africa and Europe, promoting his claim as a royal heir to the Ethiopian throne, he spent his final months in poor health. He had been suffering from tuberculosis, a common and often fatal disease at the time, which gradually weakened him. As his condition deteriorated, he withdrew from public life and spent increasing time in prayer and reflection. By this point, Zaga Christ had gained many admirers in France, especially among members of the Catholic clergy and nobility, who viewed him as a noble and devout Christian prince. Despite the failure to organize a return expedition to Ethiopia, he remained respected and treated with dignity. He died on April 22, 1632, in the town of Rouen, just outside Paris. His death was treated with solemnity and reverence. French authorities, particularly those connected with the church, arranged for him to be buried in one of Paris's most important religious sites, the Church of Saint-Germain-des-Prés. This burial place, normally reserved for distinguished figures, reflected the high regard in which he was held. A Latin epitaph was inscribed to honor his memory, referring to him as Zaga Christ, Prince of Ethiopia. Though his true origins and claims remained uncertain, Zaga Christ had managed to leave a lasting impression in Europe. His death marked the end of a remarkable life shaped by political ambition, religious faith, and the power of storytelling. He was remembered not only as a potential royal figure from a distant land, but also as a symbol of cultural and spiritual connection between Ethiopia and Europe. Zaga Christ's legacy is a complex blend of mystery, admiration, and historical debate. Though his claim to the Ethiopian throne was never confirmed by Ethiopian sources, he left a deep impression on European society in the 17th century. To many in Rome and Paris, he embodied the romantic ideal of an exiled Christian prince, dignified, devout, and noble. His ability to navigate the elite circles of two of the most powerful cities in Europe testified to his intelligence, charisma, and strategic storytelling. For the Catholic Church, Zaga Christ represented a unique opportunity. At a time when Jesuit missionaries were deeply involved in trying to convert Ethiopia to Catholicism, his apparent loyalty to the papacy seemed like a divine endorsement. Though he ultimately never returned to Ethiopia, his presence gave the Vatican hope of expanding its influence in East Africa. His conversion to Catholicism, his piety, and his participation in church life were seen as a symbolic victory, reinforcing Rome's aspirations to reunite Christianity across continents. In France, his legacy took on more of a cultural dimension. He was admired at court for his refinement, his tragic background, and his exotic origins, which fascinated the French aristocracy. Artists painted his portrait, writers mentioned him in letters and travelogues, and his name became associated with honor and spiritual resilience. Even in death, his burial at the Church of Saint-Germain-des-Prés ensured that he was remembered as someone of importance and dignity. Historically, his life raises questions about identity, self-representation, and the way Europeans perceived Africa. Some modern historians believe Zaga Christ may have been a skilled impostor or a charismatic adventurer who understood how to present his story in ways that appealed to European sensibilities. Others argue that he may have genuinely been of royal Ethiopian descent, but lacked the means or allies to prove it. Today, Zaga Christ is remembered less for his political ambitions and more as a symbol of the global connections already forming in the early modern world. He was a man of African origin who moved through Islamic and Christian lands, engaged with both religious and secular leaders, and left behind a story that still provokes fascination centuries later. His life reflects the entangled histories of Africa and Europe, marked by faith, ambition, and the enduring power of personal narrative.